On today's adventure, we're going to come out and see Moonhouse ruins. This is the inside of it. Here we have another trail where the cairns, the trail markers, are really important. As I was coming down, I thought I could just go down this wash right here because it looks like a more gentler walk. But the cairns lead left away from the wash. And here's the trail right here. That's the thing about these canyon hikes, especially in unfamiliar terrain, when you've never hiked that specific canyon, that specific hike. What looks like intuitively the logical route is frequently, I mean frequently, not the case out in canyons, because you get cliffed out so frequently, so often, and it's typical, it's common for there to only be one and a half routes down into the base of these canyons. So out here, these cairns are important. I keep saying that because it's a trend right now. It's popular, it's fashionable to be against cairns and kick them over. There's a whole community of people who just take so much joy in kicking them over because wherever they are, they're being built for aesthetic reasons, not for trail marker reasons, which I understand. But whoever's y'all doing that need to understand that it's a big world out there, and these cairns out here aren't for aesthetics, they're all utility. So, the more you know. All right, let the fun begin. Apparently, we have to go down the canyon, get to the bottom, then go back up the canyon to get to the ruins, and then go back down the canyon again. So even though this hike is only supposed to be like a mile and a half, it's just all up, down, and it's rapid elevation gain. Find our cairns. Problem is there's other little trails that lead to stuff like this. Just people checking out the cave, I guess. Oh, there's one right down there. And there's one. But what's weird is a lot of the people I'm encountering, because yesterday I did 7 kivas, which is over by Citadel Ruin, which is literally the next canyon system over. Lots of older folks, and I consider myself an older folk. I'm 45. But these folks are like the youngest boomer and the oldest Gen X. You know, they're all pretty much retirees. And they're out here doing this. So that's pretty impressive. Because these are not easy hikes at all. My legs are wrecked from yesterday walking around 7 kivas with all the side quests I had to do. So I'm gonna go slow. I got all day, because tomorrow is House on Fire and Hovenweep. Anyway, back to the trail. Thankfully, some awesome person left a rope, because yeah, there's no getting up that without a rope, unless you're 20 and in fantastic physical shape, very athletic, maybe even a little acrobatic. We're doing it. Did it. Not so bad at all. So once you come down the rope, follow this. As soon as you come around that corner, you can see Moonhouse straight across the canyon. So clearly we have to go down, cross the canyon, and then go back up again to get over there. But I was reading an article about this, and if you stay on the Moonhouse level, on that ledge, there's going to be some other ruins over here, and you can see them. Same thing with up canyon. If you stay on the ledge and go up canyon, there's supposed to be some more up there. Of course, I don't know how far it is. I don't know if it's miles or just yards. Right there's a perfect little granary. It looks still intact. So it's short but steep. So it's interesting, all along this ledge, from way back over there, there's structures all around here with Moonhouse, all over around the next corner. I wonder how far they go. This was a huge, for their time, a huge little civilization, little community. What's interesting about these rocks right here, big and flat, covered in patina, the desert varnish, that's the dark spots you see on it, that is where the petroglyphs are almost always found. And these are huge, flat slabs, absolutely perfect canvas for petroglyphs. But there's none here, which I find very interesting, because there's so many dwellings all along here. So why wouldn't there be petroglyphs here? So much we don't understand about the meanings of petroglyphs, where they're put and why, and where they're not put, where you would think they would be. And that's just a perfect canvas. Little indents that look like they were made by the ancients, Ancestral Puebloans, who lived here 800 years ago, and that's a ballpark. My theory is they lived here a lot longer than 800 years. They just get that date from when they carbon date the wood that they find still intact in these ruins. And that's really the only way to get an accurate age when carbon dating is wood. So they know the wood is 800 years old, 1240s through 1260s. But there's also tons of evidence that would indicate that there were civilizations here, or dwellings here, people here, a lot longer than that. So everything with this ancient history is a true ballpark guess, and depending on what tribe you ask will depend on the answer you get. There's not even a consistent belief among the current Native Americans legends. The Apache, the Navajo, the Pueblo, the Hopi, the Zuni, they all have conflicting reports. Some of their stuff overlaps a little bit, but bottom line is this stuff is still an absolute mystery, which is what makes it, to me, so fascinating. And, you know, we're all learning together. You're on this journey with me. As you walk through these areas, you have to constantly scan everything, because there can be pictographs and petroglyphs hidden, as well as grinding marks where they were milling flour or sharpening axes. There could be pottery shards on the ground, arrowheads, just all number of stone tools and artifacts that you have to leave where you find them. But I find this really interesting because all of these big flat canvases, these rocks with the patina, there's tons of them. And there's no petroglyphs on any. So they did not want to do petroglyphs here at this site. And modern archaeology is still uncertain and unclear as to what these ruins were even used for. We know there's granaries involved, but whether they were permanent homes, seasonal homes, defense fallback shelters if they're attacked, no one actually knows. They can just take guesses based on what they find, which just adds to the mystery. You can see right down here in the dirt below the ruins, there's rock chips and pottery shards. This here is a shard of corrugated pottery. And these are chips, pieces of stone where they were making stone tools. This one here has just 2 little scalloped edges, which means it was part of a knife or a blade at some point, because the scallops made the edges serrated so they would cut better. This one here has a little hole, half a hole on one side. So this was also a piece of something, some stone tool at some time. These just fascinate me. Since there's still a bunch of people over here, we're gonna go check out the ruins farther down and then come back, see Moonhouse. So you can see how well protected this ledge is. Above it, sheer wall overhang. So it'd be very difficult. You couldn't get down here without gear, which would take time. You can't get up here from below, except for one little entrance. So I firmly believe these are all defensive structures. And I know a lot of people say, well, a bunker defense is a doomed defense because you're trapped, which is true. But if you can't outrun your enemy and you can't meet them head on, then what do? You build a castle that you can fortify yourself in, which means stockpiling food, stockpiling water, and just raining arrows down on anyone who tries to get in, which is what they did up here. For example, this next structure we're about to see, this is a granary and it's intact, which is fascinating. I never see intact ones. A granary was a food store. They'd fill it full of corn. And when they would construct these, as with most of their dwellings, they would do an inner coating and an outer coating. The weather couldn't get in and the rodents couldn't get in, like kangaroo rats, so it would keep their food stored in the shade, out of the elements, cool. And they have stockpiles of food all over, as well as lots of cisterns and water collections within the ruins. So they did stockpile food and they did have water collection, which would make for an outstanding defense. And here we have an example of the wood still in the mortar. So that's what science is able to carbon date and say how old this wood is. So if this wood is 800 years old, that's going to give them a ballpark as to how old the structures are. And as you might have noticed, there's no soot on the ceilings of these, which means they weren't having fires in there, which means they weren't living in there. These are granaries, food stores. Amazing how intact these are. This is incredible. This whole area is referred to as an outdoor museum. And look at all this. These are all the fingerprints from the mason who built this. $800 years ago, sitting here, packing this mortar in by hand, and the fingerprints still in there, not even smoothed out, like they just left the fingerprints. I just love these. So this here, just a jumble of rocks, both sides. This is more typical of what I see with granaries, as well as this one here, where it's crumbled down over the centuries, or from people climbing in and out and pulling on it. Another interesting thing about these places is you hear a lot of different languages spoken. A German lady just passed me, and so you're getting people from all over the world getting permits. In this case, you have to have a permit. That's why I'm showing you so much about it, because only 20 people are allowed in a day. But people from all over the world are coming because evidently to have this many rooms, this many structures still intact from a prehistoric people, because the Ancestral Puebloans, the basket makers, the Fremont, the archaic, all of these indigenous people, all of these different tribes, they never did metalworking, so they never had a Bronze Age, they never had an Iron Age. All they ever had was stone tools. So they used Stone Age technology. And San Juan County in Utah, the whole county is an outdoor museum. It is very rich in this history, which is what makes it so special. Pardon me, ma'am. Don't lean on him, please.
Oh, okay.
Now you'll notice there's no doors in this whole structure. No fire on the ceiling. All granaries, I suspect. Those are all ancient corn cobs, maize. So yeah, these are their food stores. It's these little things like this, kind of like the fingerprints. This is their lashing. This is what they were using to tie the sticks together, to put the mortar on, to make the structure. And that is the 800-year-old lashing still there. I just love that stuff. And even as I'm walking by the wall, you know, looking at it, it's pretty uniform. Everything is horizontal. All the rocks that they have mushed in the mortar, except for these 4 right here. As well as up here. While everything else is horizontal. I suspect, just because people are people, this is artistry. This is when they were building it. This guy decided to give it a little bit of a design. Just subtle, and who knows what his reasoning for. Maybe this was his trademark. Whenever he built a structure, he always did one rock outlined, and maybe this is his signature right here. 4 verticals. Who knows? And it's also interesting because they all appear to be granaries, where these windows, these entrances, are rectangle, but more commonly, I see them more oval. And this one is recessed back a little bit. Perhaps it was an afterthought. They had a bigger crop than they anticipated, so they built another one. But oval entrance versus rectangle. The mysteries abound. But this one here looks like it perhaps may have been an actual dwelling. Same thing with the one over there. I can't tell if there's charcoal marks on the rock or not. It looks like there might be. And then there's that step right there that would be suitable for a sleeping platform, as well as what looks like it may be a doorway. I don't know though. And this one was very rounded. That step back there is all broken out. No fire up here, no soot marks, but this stuff could have sloughed off in the last 800 years. Another part of something right here. And it could also very well be these are older than these. Doesn't look like there's any wood around here to carbon date, whereas there is within these ones here. So if they found those ones are 800 years old, but they don't find any wood in these ones, these could be much, much older than those ones. which is why perhaps they're just completely busted up at this point. And people are people. If this was already an inhabited area when another tribe came in, it's very possible that the new tribe went extinct the old tribe and then took over, knocked their stuff down and built their own stuff. Sadly, we'll never know. But yeah, to me, this looks like a multi-room structure. Room there with the sleeping platform, another room back there that was walled in, little cubby here, this one around here, 1, 2, 3 at least rooms that were right here. Not covered in corn cobs, but that doesn't mean anything. The cobs could have all been taken, or these weren't granaries and these were actually dwellings. I don't know. And we're always only one earthquake away from all of this disappearing. As we walk back to Moonhouse from the down canyon ruins, you can see along the shelf here, there's places where there used to be other assumed granaries. So at one time, there was a lot more structures along this under this shelf. But again, are these earlier than the ones that are still intact? I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. We can guess. Springtime in the desert. It's late April, April 28th, 2025. And at night, it's like 40s, 30s. And in the day, even though it's sunny, it's only in the 60s, and the wind is chilly. Seeing the roof intact is always really special. Now this one looks like it had fires in it. This here is super special too. The threshold for the door, I've never seen one still intact. That's amazing. Now this isn't rock, this is mortar. So whatever was mortared here, maybe a post for support. I don't know what that's about. It's not a matete or a mortar and pestle. This is mortar as in concrete, and there was something embedded in it. Now this area here is super cool. It's 2 stories. I don't know if the GoPro can pick it up, but there's a white and red zigzag pictograph right up there, very clear. Unfortunately, GoPros don't zoom. Looks like we're allowed inside this one because the do not enter sign is on the next room back. There's another room behind this one. So let's do this very carefully. All those dots on the wall all along this, and it's all covered in soot. All these rooms covered in soot. So these are dwellings. This is where they lived, which is super cool. Rooms behind a room. all that white was painted. I don't know if it's technically a pictograph. That was all painted in there, all the dots and the big band that goes all the way along it. That's amazing. This is magnificent. You have to be so careful in this ruin. In fact, I am absolutely stunned that they still let people in here, because people can be so clumsy. I had to yell at 3 people at the ruins down the cliff to quit leaning on them, because they were leaning on the windows to look in. So it's only a matter of time before we're not allowed in these anymore. Let's enjoy it while it lasts, and always treat these places with the utmost respect. So here's another interesting detail. The mortar all along here, all fingerprints except for one spot. Let me show you. This is all fingerprints in here. And there's supposed to be a baby's footprint in here somewhere, but all fingerprints, all the way along. Fingerprints. Wrap around here, you still see fingerprints. Fingerprints everywhere. Until we get to the one with the white band on the outside. Now this wall is smooth. They took time to make this very smooth. Except for at the very top, you can see at least, yeah, those are fingerprints too. But they smoothed this room out very smooth, which makes me wonder what was so special about this room. And the one with the painted dots, that's the room adjacent to this one. This is the one with the band on the inside, with the dots following along the top of the band. So this one has a very special inside. This one has a very special outside. Either way, this is one of the coolest ruins I've ever been able to explore inside. Moonhouse ruins.
David, while we can, there's only one place you can go in this room, and we're here. But I would absolutely recommend.
So Moonhouse, primary structures right here. A couple more pretty impressive ones down canyon, I don't know, a couple 100 yards. And then up canyon, there's some more. They're supposed to be a little more beaten down, these ones. But look at this one. I mean, a true ruin because it's completely ruined. This would have been neat to see before it fell down. So this would have been a room right here. And then an upper level walled in up there. Interesting, because there's a huge fissure in the rock, huge crack. And I wonder if that crack was there 800 years ago, or if whatever pretty significant geological event happened that opened that crack and caused this to tumble down. Either way, this is neat. And these two big bad boys. Over there on the other side of the canyon, I can see two more what look like granaries. But I feel like we've seen all we need to see, what we came out to see. My knees are shot from yesterday. So if you come out here and you want to walk around there and see the granaries, there might be another one over here. Knock yourself out. There they are. It's not far, but it's... And I read about some even farther up. So if you pass these ones, there's maybe a few more that most people don't hike out to see. And I'm going to be one of those most people.
Are you gonna come, Paul?
Oh, I may eventually.
Yeah.
So I overheard some of the other hikers up there talking, and it sounds like the tribes are going to shut down access to Moonhouse ruin. So 2025, if they're correct, is going to be the last year they let you inside to see those painted rooms, which is not surprising but unfortunate. So 2025, the tribes are going to shut down access to the inside of the primary ruin. You're on notice. But if you're watching this and it's after 2025 and there's no more access to the ruin, well, I got you. This video, that's what the inside of the ruin looks like. Now this ruin is permit only. They only allow 20 people a day, so you have to do your research. And finding the road to get to Moonhouse is tricky all by itself. There's no service out here, and the sign that says Snow Flat Road, which is the dirt road you have to go down, well, there's only one sign posted off the main highway, and that's if you're headed south. So if you're coming from the south headed north, like coming up the Moki Dugway, well, you're not going to see the sign. So it's super helpful to have a map like this. But just be advised, there's only one sign that says Snow Flat Road, and it's only visible from heading south. You can't see it going north. And as everything with these back roads, they can be impassable when wet. We had a little bit of rain last night, but otherwise not too bad. And you're gonna need a high clearance vehicle to get to the trailheads, both for Citadel Ruins, 7 kivas. This is no different, because it's a bunch of miles down a nice dirt road, and then it gets really rough. But have your directions written down too, because you have to make a few twists and turns, like at this sign. So now we go 8 miles down this road, then we're gonna take a left and go another 1.2 miles down a much hairier road. And that's where the high clearance comes real handy. Adventurer beware. The road to Moonhouse is a lot worse than the road to Citadel. If you're familiar with Citadel Ruins, I'm going to use that as a point of reference a lot, because it's literally just the next canyon over, due south from where Moonhouse is. I mean, yeah, a lot of vehicles could handle this, a lot of stock vehicles, but I just prefer having clearance for this type of driving. There's a lot of places on the rocks where it's been scraped. So, I mean, if you're a really good driver, yeah, something like an Outback could do this at least so far, but it's pretty dang bumpy. And we're not even to the worst section yet, so that's a tip. Okay, this road is absolutely nuts. It is like 8 miles down. When you're on this road, you're gonna feel like you're going too far because the miles go by real slow. So you're gonna pass a weird first off turn that has like omega symbols, like signs. I think they're cattle brands. Past that, then you're gonna go through an ancient barbed wire fence between some massive boulders. You're gonna pass that. Then you're gonna pass a big sign that says no wood cutting beyond this point, and you're gonna pass that. These are the things to let you know, peace of mind, that you're on the right route, until you finally, after long last, get here. This is how you know you're on the cutoff. Now it's 1.2 miles down this little spur road to get to the trailhead. But just like Citadel Ruins, a lot of people, they just walk or they bring a bike They don't drive the last section to the trailhead. In fact, there was I think it was an Escalade, some kind of pretty big SUV parked up here, and so they're walking this section. But we are in a lifted Tacoma on 33s for this very reason. And I recommend anyone looking to get into outdoor adventure like this, just get the right rig. Get yourself, whatever you're driving, lifted on some bigger wheels so that you can go more places and shave some miles off your hike. I don't know if the GoPro was able to pick that up, but the big hazard so far on the last mile down to the trailhead is the ruts. The ruts are crazy deep, so you just have to straddle them, and you're gonna get some brush stripes alongside your rig. As I was recording that, I had to pull over and let someone by. It was a stock Jeep Grand Cherokee, so if he can make it in his stock Cherokee, then that should tell you something. He was headed out as I'm headed in, so yeah, he made it at least this far. And this is the trailhead, the end of the road. Trail points off right down there to Karen's Mark the Head, and then there's a sign. And now it's just time to get geared up for adventure. And as you can see, a stock Outback made it. So, couple things depending on where you can take your car. First, skill of driver, how they can find their route, mark their line. And second, there's the fact that however little you care about your car will also determine where you can take it. But I suspect they know what they're doing. Now that was a really fun experience. If you have an idea for an adventure that we should go on, please put it in the comments section. And if you're looking for some more adventure ideas, you can click one of these links and go to the page, because there's literally hundreds of other adventures going on there, and I hope to see you next time.